Good morning, guys. I hope you're doing well. So I just pulled this one out of the garage, shed, whatever you want to call it. And I just popped the air filter off and I thought, no, stop. Before you do what you're about to do, get the camera out and just share it on video because someone might not know about it and hopefully it will help you out. And that is, and I've mentioned it before in another video, but I want to show it for the first time as it is before I start messing with it. It's very easy to miss. So your typical screw here, which is a Pac-Man screw, that's your high-speed adjustment screw on a dependent carburetor. And you can't see your low-speed screw because actually it's under that. It's not this whole thing, that's just the carriage. That holds the low-speed screw. Now on the low-speed screw, let's pull it out, it could be either a Pac-Man or a flathead. Generally they're Pac-Men, small Pac-Men, but it's under this little bung here. And that one, oh, just dropped it, is a flathead. Let's try and get some shadow on it so you can see it a bit clearer. That is your low speed adjustment screw. And it's very simple. All it does is it pulls the needle up from inside the venturi. It pulls that needle up and it just offers more fuel. So if I open this, you might be able to see in here. Can you see that there is a brass needle there inside the venturi? Now you can't see it moving up and down, but what you can see is the brass screw slips into a plastic tube. Well, that plastic tube is the main fuel supply, it's the only fuel supply for this style of carburetor, and all the fuel comes up that plastic tube, and that needle inside is actually that little screw there. That's at the other end of the needle. It's all one piece. So what essentially you're doing is, when you adjust the idle speed screw here, you do two things. You raise that needle and you also give it some more air. You're opening up this barrel in here. So if I was to turn that screw here, the idle screw behind here, where is it? There. If I turn that one in and I raise my idle, I'm doing two things. I'm giving it more air by opening that barrel, and I'm also giving it more fuel because at the same time, those two are connected together, and I'm going to give it more fuel. What people will often do is they will compensate for a incorrectly tuned engine by opening this screw, which will give them more fuel, but it also gives them more air. So you're not really achieving much. However, what it can do is sometimes give you just enough fuel relative to the amount of air passing the venturi that you can get it to start and run. But really what you want to do is to pop off that little bung here. Where's it gone? That little bung. And then you just want to loosen that low speed screw in there. That's going to raise that needle, it's going to allow more fuel to pass, and it will make the engine easier to start, because over time what happens is the diaphragm, which is actually at the bottom here, you've got two, but the main one is the metering diaphragm that goes hard. As that goes hard, it's unable to pump as much fuel as it did when you bought it brand new. So over time, the engine gets less fuel. As the engine gets less fuel, it becomes harder to start. So although it's not really the solution, I mean, the solution really is to put a new diaphragm in there, but what you can do more often than not is you can just open up that screw just a smidgen. You might need to open the high speed screw, which is here, just a little bit too. And that combination of just giving it a bit more fuel makes up for the fact that the diaphragm can't actuate as freely, and thus it runs less rich. But by adjusting those screws, you're allowing more fuel to get through the hole, even though the diaphragm doesn't pump anymore or move anymore, and you can get away with it. So this strimmer, actually, what I'm going to do, let's go out to the park, and I'm going to fill it up with fuel. I don't know anything, I haven't even taken the muffler off, but any damage that's done is going to already be done. We'll try and start it. If it starts, fine. If it doesn't start, we're going to open this screw. Let's see where that's set first, but we'll open this screw, and I'll see if that will be the reason why this one was dumped. So let me just see how many turns out that should be. I would say about 1 to 1.5 should be on this high speed screw. And I like these set about in line with the top of the threads, maybe slightly lower. So let's just see where they are. Let's spin the strim around and we'll get that on camera too. I apologise for this bad lighting. Let's just show you what we've got here. And that is a set of tuning screwdrivers. Now you can get these anywhere. You can get them on Amazon, you can get them on eBay, you can get them from your lawnmower supply shops online, you typically will find a hard time trying to get them from actual mower shops. They tend not to sell them. I'm looking for the Pac-Man. Oh, there it is. That's the one I want there, because that one meets up with the high-speed screw. So we'll take that Pac-Man out. Hopefully it's the big Pac-Man. It is, and you can see it's got the same. Let me show you here. Can you see it's got a little notch in it, a little V notch there? That will match up with here. And we'll pop it in and we'll just see how many turns out. Now this, as I said, should be, oh, sorry. Oh. Let's put that like that. How about that? Is that going to stay, do you think, or not? Oh, it does. Right, let's put that in here. Find where that goes in. Right, let's see how many turns out we are on high. I would suggest about 1 to 1.5 is ideal. That's half. 1. Just over 1. And that tells me that this actually hasn't been adjusted really, or I think what is possible is someone used it, it no longer ran because it wasn't retuned, and it wasn't worth paying for someone to retune it. That's one possibility. Could be completely scored, but it doesn't feel too bad in the compression. So we're going to open that out to 1 1/4, half, 1. Actually, no, let's do exactly what they did. They did 1 1/8. We'll put it exactly where they had it. And this one, you can see, if you look closely, they've set the low speed screw. You can see the threads on the outside of the screw. I generally like to have them about in line with the top of the threads or slightly down. Again, I'm not going to touch anything here. I would suggest we're possibly okay, maybe a smidge lean if the gasket, if the diaphragm is a little bit old. But again, we won't touch anything. Let's go and put fuel in it and we'll just see if all this needed was a tune. And that's why it was thrown away. Let's have a look. Well, I went to put fuel in it, and I noticed it was missing a fuel line. The fuel line had broken off, so I stuck a new fuel line in. Maybe that was the reason why. Maybe that was the reason why it's dumped. But we'll give it a go anyway, and we'll give it a tune, and we'll just see. If it doesn't work, then I'll do it's really bright. If it doesn't work, I'll do another video on diagnosing why it's not working. But I've had a whole bunch of 2-stroke engines, and they get thrown out just because they don't run very well anymore, and people get angry with them. Sometimes, not all the time, it can be as simple as opening that low speed screw a bit. So we will see. It makes them much easier to start, gives them more fuel. So let's plonk you down there. And we'll see how we go. Can you see? So on high, we have, is that choke? Is that choke? That's probably choke. And we should have, yeah, our little primer bulb. 4, 5, now 6 pumps on the primer bulb. And then, good. Let's try. No, don't keep wasting your time pulling them over. If they don't start after 7 or 8 pulls or so, don't spend 25 pulls. It's not worth the energy. So we'll loosen up the cover, because I need to get to that screw that we uncovered earlier, and I'll just open it out, probably a turn or so. That's my tool. We'll try a turn. Oh, is that a turn? There. Try it again. I'll put the cover back on just because that's going to add a little bit of resistance. That doesn't, if you're running lean already, then having the air filter cover off is only going to encourage that. That's the. You can hear how lean that is? That's on choke. Watch what happens when I take the choke off. Did you see that? That's hilarious. Okay, so that ran on choke. That's basically saying I can run when you restrict a load of the air coming in, but I can still get fuel. So what we need to do is to open that up, probably another turn, 2 turns out in total in this case. Now this is the low speed screw. It doesn't have the same adjustments as a normal screw that you'd have on the side of the carb, like in this case the high speed screw. The needle height is not as sensitive as the needles that allow fuel to come past that are normally at the side of the carb. So just bear that in mind. 2 turns out on this needle is like probably between 1/2 to 3/4 of a turn of a normal needle. And that's just how I found it. So yeah, that shouldn't run on choke. Let's go another, that was very lean. Let's go another whole turn. Was that a whole turn or was that half? Let's leave the air filter off. We'll try that. We'll choke it again. No, we will try without choke first. Full throttle. No, you need to re-choke it. Is it still running on choke? It will die again, watch. So it ran on choke. No, okay. It ran off choke, and that time it didn't die. That's saying that you've given me more fuel, but I actually need more again to actually be able to idle down. This could also have an air leak. But the thing about these engines is they're still fairly new, and even though the rubber seals that are put in here, they're going to be pretty junky, they don't tend to fail first. Normally, these pieces of equipment, people will buy them, they'll use them for a few years and chuck them out. Well, the seals are generally still all right. I'm not saying it is in this case, but of all the outdoor power equipment I've dealt with in the last few years, hardly any have had a seal leak. They're all too new. The carb diaphragms get hard and people chuck them out because they're not worth repairing. So we're going to go one more turn on that high speed. Should we do 1 or 2? Was that half or was that 1? Let's do another one. Let's say there. Actually, that feels really loose. There should be a little rubber washer in there, or an O-ring. Okay, so this time, because it was running, we don't need to choke it. Choking is only to get fuel to the engine. If you choke it and it runs and then you take the choke off and it dies, it's dying because it's running out of fuel. That's when I needed to re-choke it there. This time I don't think I'm going to have to, so I'll leave choke off and we'll try again. High idle. So it's slowed down again. Let's give it less fuel. Actually, I forgot about that. That could be a bit too rich. Probably just not enough fuel. That's lean still, but it's probably just not getting enough fuel now. That's fine. Probably it's still that's a bit rich. I'm running out of fuel. Let me just stand up, my legs are killing me. We're running out of fuel. I only put a smidge in there. I only put, just because I didn't know if it was actually going to even work or not. I didn't want to put more in than necessary. It's very bright, sorry guys. So what did we have with this? Can't even remember how we started now. I think we turned in 2 turns in total on the high. And now it's just not got enough fuel in it. It's not sucking enough, and I can hear that. And I can see it. There's literally nothing left in the tank. But we did it. That was it. Now, I'm not saying that there's not an air leak. I'm still going to go through all the tests. I'm going to check everything. I'm going to take the carb apart. But I guess it's just a reminder that sometimes with these pieces of equipment that people only use for a couple of years and throw out, more often than not, I would probably say, for us that don't use ethanol fuel, it's just either a dirty fuel filter or just needs a carb kit. Or sorry, dirty fuel filter just needs a carb kit, or just as simple as a tune like that. It really is sometimes that simple. It just needs half a turn or a turn on one of the screws and it will run again. So there we go. That was kind of fun. We will go through the whole process anyway. I don't really like selling equipment like that. It takes me probably 45 minutes to go over everything. So that's a clean, pressure and vacuum test, compression test, spark test, coil test, grease the shaft, give it a good clean, check the linkages, oil and grease everything, and just know that, and obviously, did I say carb clean? And just know that it's good. But the long and short of it is, in this case, just to get it running again, it just needed a bit more on the screws. And I don't know, I can say now, yeah, I was confident. I don't know, I wouldn't say I was confident, but more often than not, with these newer machines, you can see this is a newer machine, all it is often just a tweak. But actually the fuel line was broken, so that could have also been the cause, but I don't reckon. Anyway, we'll see. Hey, thanks for joining me. Hopefully the first part of this video where the location of that screw was really helpful, and that's kind of what it does. It just gives you more fuel at idle. But really, to tune this one properly, you need a full tank, and everything needs to be cleaned. You can't tune a carb and expect it to last if you haven't checked all the other things that leak down to other pressure vacuum test, and clean the carb, this, that, and the other. So all that's still to come, but hopefully you enjoyed the video anyway. All right, catch you guys.